Okay, we're going to solve this integral here. You'll notice that it's a definite integral because it has limits of integration. So we're going to use the fundamental theorem of calculus to find a value here. If there were no limits of integration here, this would be called an indefinite integral. We would integrate or find the antiderivative. We would add c, and then we would be done. So okay, this problem here, we need to find a function whose derivative is 4e to the x. You'll recall that the derivative of e to the x is just e to the x. What that means is that the integral of e to the x is also e to the x. We could add a plus c on here, and we can use this fact whenever we want down the road. Now, what function has a derivative of sine of x? We need to find that function so that we can integrate this term right here. And if you think about it, the derivative of negative cosine x is positive sine of x. Therefore, we know that the integral of sine of x dx is negative cosine of x. And that is a fact that we can use whenever we want down the road as well. Well, let's use those two facts right now. If we want to find the integral of 4e to the x, it is just going to be 4e to the x because of this rule right here. If we want the integral of 4 sine of x, we can use this rule right here, which says that the integral of sine of x is negative cosine of x. So we'll pull the 4 out. I'll put the negative on that term there. And this is a definite integral, so we're going to evaluate it between 0 and 1. Now, the fundamental theorem of calculus tells us that we should plug in our upper limit of integration first into our antiderivative, and then subtract and plug in our lower limit of integration. So let's do it. A little bit of simplification. E to the first power is just e. I don't know what cosine of 1 is. We're just going to call it cosine of 1. E to the 0 is just 1 because anything to the 0 is just 1. Cosine of 0 is 1 as well. This minus is going to distribute to that minus, and we're going to end up getting a plus 4. These 4's cancel, and we just get an answer of 4e minus 4 times the cosine of 1. Now, this is a calculus class, so whenever we're doing integrals and derivatives, those angles have to be measured in radians. So if you wanted to plug this into your calculator, just make sure that your calculator is in radian mode. But this answer is perfectly acceptable, so I'm going to box it up and call this video finished.